All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of American Soccer Quick Kicks. I am your host, David Wright. I want to get on here today, talk a little bit about what to expect from the Major League Soccer postseason. The regular season ended this past weekend. We saw Lionel Messi score a hat trick on closing on the last match day of the regular season and secure the Golden Boot for himself. He's kind of expected to win MVP again this year. This will be only the second time in league history that someone has won the MVP more than once. The first guy being Preki, but he did not do it in consecutive years. This would be the first time it's ever been done in consecutive years. There's really nobody else that comes close, I don't think, to making a case to having a better season than what Messi had this year. But anyway, so the field is set, and as a matter of fact, the playoffs actually get started tomorrow night. We have both wild card matches going on Wednesday ahead of the weekend's first round matches. So I just want to explain a little bit of what the Major League Soccer postseason looks like. So there's 30 teams in the league. 18 of them make it into the postseason. And what you have is the 8th and 9th place teams playing a wild card match, a one-off playoff match that will happen tomorrow night, but for both conferences. And then that kind of whoever wins that is in the 8th seed, and then you play you're playing a bracket after that with the 8 teams. So I want to show you a little bit of what that looks like. So check that out. We have screen sharing going on again. Yay me. All right, so these are the 18 teams that have made it into the postseason. And we start off tomorrow night. Portland and Real Salt Lake are playing the wild card match in the West, and that will the winner of that will be playing the number 1 seed in the first round, and that would be San Diego. Congratulations to San Diego. They are an expansion club, first year of existence, and they won the conference. They're the best team in the West this year, and we're very close to taking the Shield. The Shield actually went to the Eastern Conference champions, Philadelphia Union, and they are awaiting the winner of the Eastern Conference wild card, which will be between Chicago and Orlando. Orlando had a strong season that kind of fell apart at the end. They're kind of falling into the postseason in bad form. Chicago is the first-year project for Greg Berhalter. So I'm kind of rooting for them to kind of see what's going to happen there. Let's go through the matchups. So what's going to happen is those wild card games are one-off matches that will happen tomorrow night. That secures the 8th spot in the seeding. And then what's going to happen in the first round is we're going to have a best-of-3 series that takes place with the higher-seeded team having playing home for the first match and, if necessary, the third match. These games will not end in ties, and they won't have any extra time or overtime. If it's tied after 90, they go straight to penalty kicks, and the winner, it's a best of 3 match. It's just who gets 2 wins first. There's no aggregate score that's kept. There's no extra weight given to away goals. There's nothing like that. It's not 3 points for a win and whatever. It's just the first team to win 2 games in the best of 3 series. And the way it shook out this year, is you've got the number 2 versus number 7. We're getting one of the best rivalries in the league, Cincinnati versus Columbus. They nicknamed this rivalry Hell is Real. And we expected a little bit more from Columbus this year, but they were able to make it above the playoff line. This is a rivalry match. You never know what's going to happen. I'm rooting for Cincinnati here because I've actually been to one of their matches. So I kind of have Cincinnati as my 3rd team behind Atlanta and Nashville. And we'll see what happens with that. Miami and Nashville seem to have a bit of a rivalry developing, just a natural one. They met a couple of years ago in the Leagues Cup final, and they played. Nashville beat them this year, but then they played on the final day of the season, and Miami destroyed them. So and they're immediately having to turn around and play each other in the first round of the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments the coaching staff makes after, I believe the final score is 5-2, if I'm remembering correctly, in favor of Miami. And keep in mind, we're in the swan song, right? The final stages of the careers for Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets. So we'll see how that goes. Charlotte, I don't think anybody expected Charlotte to have as strong a season as they did. Congratulations to them. Finished 4th. They'll be playing New York City in the first round. So let's go over to the West. Let's go over that. Vancouver was leading the Shield race for a long time in the early stages of the season. They kind of faltered a little bit, but they came back strong, especially when they added Thomas Mueller, and had a fantastic season. They have not typically been a team that's this strong, and they're actually on the block to be sold by their owner, but they have put together an amazing season. Congratulations to Vancouver. They will be playing the number 7 Dallas, who I believe didn't qualify for the playoffs to the last day of the season, or at least they certainly were down lower in the seeding, and they climbed up to number 7. LAFC coming on strong at the end of the year after bolstering their roster in the summer transfer window, not the least of which is Sung Hyung Min. And Austin has had an improved season. This is an improvement over last year. I don't see them getting by LAFC, but that's obviously one to keep an eye on. Minnesota has had, I think, I would also describe it as a surprisingly strong year. I don't know if everybody would, but Seattle has come on stronger in the second half of the season, and are coming into the postseason in strong form, and after a strong performance in Leagues Cup. So that's going to be interesting to see. So here's what's going to happen. We're having the wild cards tomorrow night. We're going to go straight into the beginning of these 3-game series of round 1 by this weekend. And we're going to play all of them, the entire first round of this, like basically this group stage where you're playing best of 3 everywhere. That'll all be over by November 9th in time for the November international window. So the postseason is going to be interrupted by an international window. Everything's going to go on pause, and all these international games will be played. The United States has Paraguay and Uruguay lined up for November 15th and November 18th. We'll certainly be covering those here on this channel. And then we will come back after the break, after the window, and the teams that we have left, it'll be straight single elimination. We're not playing best of anything. It's straight single elimination. The team that finished with the better regular season record will be the home game, will be the home team. And we'll go straight through like that. And the MLS Cup final will be held on December 6th. So with all of that said, in addition to winning the league championship, what's at stake is the final CONCACAF berth for MLS. We have all the other participating teams figured out for CONCACAF Champions Cup next year. The only one left to be determined is the MLS Cup winner. Now, let's take a look at that. These are all the teams in CONCACAF that have qualified so far. I'm just going to focus on the American ones. So these 3 right here, these spots, these berths in CONCACAF are not allocated to MLS. They're allocated to Leagues Cup. As it happens this year, the top 3 spots went to MLS teams. That's not guaranteed, but that's how these 3 teams got in. Okay. And then the top 4 teams that finished in the Supporter Shield standings also qualify. That's going to be your Philadelphia Union, and are you seeing my mouse? And San Diego down here. Okay, they're the conference winners. You go a little bit, so you step further down the Supporter Shield standings. That's the single table for the entire league. Okay, so you're looking at that, and Vancouver and Cincinnati also have made it into CONCACAF based on their league results, about where they finished in the Supporter Shield race. Now, Nashville is in because they won the U.S. Open Cup. And the equivalent of that in Canada, Canada's domestic cup, the Canadian Championship, was won by Vancouver Whitecaps. But here's the twist. The Whitecaps are already qualifying, are already getting in based on their league results. So Canada then takes that allocated berth and awards it to the runner-up, the other finalist in this year's Canadian Championship. And that's right here. And guess who that is? That is Vancouver FC. So not only does Vancouver have an MLS team, they have a team in the Canadian Premier League. The Canadian Premier League is the top league in Canada that is entirely domestic. It's a kind of equivalent to our USL Championship. Okay, so it's kind of on the status of a lower division club making it in. Congratulations to Vancouver FC. They had an amazing season and an amazing run in that tournament and made it all the way to the final. They did lose to the Whitecaps, but because the Whitecaps had such a great year in MLS, they're getting in another way, and so Vancouver FC gets to go to the show next year. So that's going to do it. The only spot left up for grabs for MLS is going to be the MLS Cup winner. Now, what happens if the MLS Cup winner is one of these teams that we're looking at? Because with the exception of the LA Galaxy, all of these teams are in the playoffs. So what if one of these teams wins MLS Cup? What's going to happen? Well, they will get in as the Cup winner, and then they will backfill that slot by looking a little bit further down the Supporter Shield standings. So that's what's going to happen there. So I just wanted to recap. Let me get out of here. Let me stop the screen sharing business. So that's the recap. That's kind of the structure of the postseason. Major League Soccer has a long history of changing their postseason format quite a bit. This one is the third year of this format being in place. That coincides with the Apple TV deal. This was kind of structured the way Apple wanted it to be. So we kind of expanded the playoff field and created a group stage here in this first round just to create more playoff matches. It's what Apple wanted, so that's what the league gave them. Tell me what you think. I'm not sure how I feel about a league of 30 teams letting 18 of them into the postseason. I'm not sure how I feel about having a group stage. And I definitely know that I don't like the playoffs being interrupted by the international window. That really kills all the momentum for the league's postseason. There was a brief moment right around the time of the pandemic where I felt like we had it totally figured out. This was pre-Apple TV deal, but we had we had it worked out where the regular season ended before the October FIFA window, and then the entire playoffs took place between the October and November windows. It was a super fast single elimination tournament, and it was high stakes soccer, and every match was awesome, and I loved it. There was no interruption to the momentum, and you had your champion before that November window opened. So we're not able to do that right now, and the MLS Cup is not going to be until December 6th. So you can tell me what you think about that. So John, who's jumped in and hosted with me these last couple of matches, says at least getting the Shield means something. Yes, it does. I know you know this, but in European leagues where they don't have playoffs or a postseason tournament, they award league champion just based on where people stand at the end of the regular season. So people that are used to that model look at the Supporter Shield as being the true championship. Like it shows that the team was excellent, sustained over the entire season, that they were the best team of the year. And it seems weird to them to somehow give more status to whoever happens to win the postseason tournament after it's all over. But that's also what we're talking about, is also the American model. I mean, think about the NFL, right? So it doesn't matter how good your regular season is. You have to win the Super Bowl before you're considered the champion. And so there are people that will advocate for the Shield, saying it should be more prestigious, and there's logic to it, but it's just not the case. And it's not the way the American audience takes it, and also the players. There are more coveted. They covet the cup more than they do the Shield. There's also prize money associated with the cup. There is no prize money for the Shield, but like according to John's first comment, yes, winning the Shield gets you into CONCACAF. So there is that. You do get to add the trophy to your case, and you qualify for CONCACAF. John says, I think you're right. Too many playoff teams, but money rules. I think there you go. I get a little smoother with these comments. I say, I wish they could trim it down a little bit, but I get it. And I don't know if we're going to see any more expansion. We've had rapid expansion in the league. Starting, I would say, probably about 2015, we've had on average one new club a year. Right? I think that it's about works out like that. There's some years we don't have any, but then there's a year where you add two. Like I think New York City and Orlando both joined in 2015. Atlanta and Minnesota both joined in 2017. Miami and Nashville joined together in 2020. Is that right? So, and there's been, the league started out with 10 teams, or maybe it was 8 teams. We've added more than that in the last 10 years, and I like the size of the league now. I grew up with a 28 team NFL, and I got used to a 32 team NFL, and we're right around that size. So I think it's a good size for a sports league in America. That's all I've got for now. All of these playoff matches are going to be on Apple TV. I'm not sure what kind of rate they're offering. If you're not already a subscriber, you may be able to get a pretty good deal just to sign on and watch the postseason. It's a lot of fun, especially once we get to the single elimination. Those games are very entertaining. I will be watching both of the wild card matches tomorrow night. We do have U.S. camp reconvening soon enough. We will be talking all about the roster. We will be discussing the U.S. matches after they are played. I'm not going to be able to go on live after the Paraguay game, but we will come on at the end of the second game and talk about the whole window. Who do you think will win the play-in games? Let's see. It's Chicago and Orlando, right? I think Chicago is going to win that because Orlando has just stumbled in their late season form. They just keep falling down the pecking order, and they ended up barely making it into the field. So I don't think Orlando's coming into this playing very well, and I think Chicago is going to end up taking that. Portland and Real Salt Lake. I don't know. That seems like kind of a toss up to me. I can tell you who I'll be rooting for. I'll be rooting for Real Salt Lake because they have Diego Luna on their team. So I want to, and they didn't qualify until the very last day of the game of the season. They got in on the final day's results, and so they're kind of riding high on that, and maybe that'll be enough to carry them. So if you ask for predictions, I'm going to say Salt Lake and Chicago. We'll see what happens. I don't think either one of those teams gets past the number 1 seed in the first round. I think San Diego and Philadelphia are going to both make deep runs. After that, I do expect. Let's tell you what. Let's look at this again. All right, so I do expect Vancouver to beat Dallas, and I expect LAFC to beat Austin. But after that, these could all go any kind of way. I could see any of these teams right here advancing. I think Miami, Nashville is going to be very interesting. The ones that have my interest, of course, are Cincinnati and Nashville. Those are two of the teams I root for. Our first team, Atlanta, they just barely avoided the wooden spoon this year. They were able to play to a draw on the final day. If they had lost, they would have finished bottom of the league. Let's see what we have here. We had a lineage partner who couldn't say that. Who's going to win? He would growl. Who is that, Larry? Is that? Are you talking about Larry Munson? Anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to get some extra soccer in here for the first round. It doesn't really have that intense playoff energy for me until we get to single elimination, and I'm looking forward to that. I have a question coming in from Alabama Barbecue Chase. Let me just take a quick look here. Skip carry the Braves. Yep, you're exactly right. So we have off topic. How are you feeling about the USMNT after the October camp? Well, I do invite you to go back and listen to our. Was it last week, John, that we came on and we talked about that October camp? I think we came away feeling a lot better. It's kind of comforting to like bring in the European-based pros, and also we seem to play with more purpose and more intention and playing for each other, and we got some high quality finishing from Haji Wright, who's not even like rated as our top striker. So I thought it was a very positive camp, and I thought there was a lot to be encouraged by. And so thumbs up. Yes, coming out of that feeling better than we did going into it. You can listen to or watch last week's episode to get a little bit more detail on that. But I am looking forward to November. We still didn't have everybody we wanted just because of injury. I'm hoping that if we can get that October roster on the field, but add Jedi Robinson and Serginho Dest to it, and I would like to start seeing that anticipated starting 11 actually come together and all be healthy at the same time. So hopefully that will happen. Yep, John's answering you. They're playing more spirited. That attitude problem we were seeing for a long time, for like the last year or two, that was still prevalent in the spring of this year, of where they just didn't seem to care and didn't seem to be playing very hard. That playing for the country didn't mean anything. All that seems to be gone. If Pochettino had to change the culture around the team, then it appears as if he's done that. And so that's good. So looking forward to November. Again, quality opponents, Paraguay and Uruguay. I think the quality of opposition is proving to be less of a problem than we anticipated, just because it seems like all the regions in the world except for CONCACAF and Europe have finished or have largely finished their qualification process. And so we're getting teams that are World Cup teams that have already qualified and their schedules opened up. So playing those two teams going to be a good test for us. And I'm looking forward to it. And I, of course, am curious about the roster. When they announce that, we will definitely be talking about it here. All right, guys, I think that's about all I got. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I hope that you're on board for some MLS postseason. It's about to get real interesting. Wildcard games tomorrow night. So until then, watch some soccer with me, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya.